Right. Thank you so much, and it's great really to have this moment to reflect on the legacy of a great man. Already I inspired not just a generation but generations working on climate action. New to this field, coming from the world of finance and trying to do the right thing by not reinventing wheels, I asked the veterans, those who go to COP for many years and those who are engaged in implementation for many years, and the first suggestion is to engage with Salim Al Haq. And with a kind of a layman's approach to me, he said, well, Salim Al Haq for us in climate action and development is for those who are working on finance and financial inclusion, like the creator of the Grameen Bank that started in Bangladesh. And he said, and rightly so then, that if Dr. Yunus was worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize and he got it, Dr. Salim Al Haq should get it one day. Unfortunately, as you know, the Nobel Prizes are given to those who make it until the announcement of the prize is recognizing their great achievements. And unfortunately, he cannot get it. But I think there are many ways to honor his legacy. First, by action. And as he many times warned us that the lack of action in mitigation and the compromising of the line of defense, the second line in adaptation, is pushing us to what he said right, and he hoped to be wrong, that, as you said, we are in the era of the loss and damage. And as everybody was saying, it's great that in the first hour, and perhaps because of his legacy, in this very COP, one of the first decisions is to operationalize the loss and damage fund. And as it was the last action in Sharm el-Sheikh last year to establish the loss and damage fund, and perhaps as well to his legacy, and please count the days after the promise of the president of the World Bank Group when he said that he will make this fund operational in 90 days, and we all can count from 1 to 90. So that will be a good thing then to see that happening. But as I was saying in a meeting, Rowan was attending in the morning, that the very establishment of the loss and damage is not just honoring the legacy, but it's a new dynamic of the work. And I'm speaking in the presence of the head of the IPCC. They may agree with me that many of the estimates and guesstimates on the loss and damage will be fixed, because we are going to have a fund not just for funding but for science to support the work and to minimize the need for going to the loss and damage. This means more attention to be given to adaptation, and for adaptation we'll be reminded of what we should really be doing in the mitigation front. And very briefly, we know from science that 16 million per hour are being the costs of climate change. So by the time we finish this, 16 million will be lost. And unfortunately, I would add that we're spending roughly 5 to 7% figures to be corrected to enhance and maximize and push these costs even higher, but what we spend on the subsidies on fossil fuel. And we wish that we can do better in supporting the technology and finance for the alternatives, which are known as better alternatives. And of course, we know the impact on hurricanes, floods, and heat waves, summarized by a good countryman, my good friend Gonzalo, Chile. The Minister of Finance there, he said, well, summer for me means simply fire that I need to deal with, and winter means for me floods. So it's basically the summary of the season that we are at, and this is basically affecting everybody's life. And what cannot be compensated by any generosity adopted and sponsored loss and damage fund is the loss of lives and livelihoods. Many things, and I keep saying that. Another good Nobel Prize winner said, well, you can have a value for everything, and in this case, you can have a price for it. One thing that will never ever be able to have a value of, or a price, to have a price tag attached to it, which is the value of people's life. We have dignity, and if we lost it, no losses and damages could be really of compensation. I think Salim gave us good guidance in his last written words, shared with us that we shouldn't give up. And I think that should really be going with us further. And in my limited capacity as GFAN's Africa chair, and I hope that GFAN's principles, this is named after the Glasgow Finance Alliance for Net Zero, are going to have an annual prize for the best practice in climate action, including in mitigation and adaptation. This is an African recognition of a man of the world. He's not just a man of Bangladesh or Asia, but a man of the world. Thank you so much.